Chapter 25. For Hindus, a touch of divine grace at the last moment the breath leaves the body is the ultimate achievement of life well lived. In my years with Ma, I came to witness a few occasions when Ma gave darshan to a close disciple before their journey beyond. The person who had brought me to Ma was in fact my mother, Kuvarni Premila Jyoti Prasad. She was not only my friend and confidante but also my spiritual preceptor. Mummy waved aside any constraints of the world that came in my way as she inspired me to a higher life, and then later she too became a close disciple of Ma. She lived in the ashram for prolonged periods of time, and she accompanied Ma on pilgrimages, a constant companion on the Ekantwas retreats. Even though she had been brought up in great luxury herself, she adjusted beautifully to the spiritual life of the ashram, maintaining her elegance till the last. To me, she represents the most gentle and exquisite blending of disciple's soul with that of her guru. After the sudden and untimely demise of my elder brother in 2001, Mummy suffered from a gradual loss of memory. I witnessed how she slowly withdrew from everything. Her greatest joy was proximity to Ma, and Ma kept her close, nurturing her love and care. It was the year 2002. Ma was emphatic that she did not wish to go far from Kainchi for her ekantwas this year and that I should look for a place nearby. Accordingly, a cottage was found near Bhimtal, about 20 kilometers away, and after the June Bhandara, Ma went there. After we had spent a few weeks there, she called me in the morning and told me that I should call my second brother to come and stay with us for a day or two, as perhaps he has been getting anxious to see Mummy. Then she went on to say that he should bring one of his sons with him. This was most unusual, as our families did not know of Ma's retreats. On receiving Ma's message, my brother and nephew arrived the next morning. They spent all their time sitting with Mummy, and she seemed very happy to be with them. 2 days later, on the morning of 16th July, Mummy went to do a pranam to Ma, as was her daily routine. Sometimes Ma would also refer to her as Mummy. Both mothers were sitting on the side of the bed, and they had made space between them, asking Mummy to sit. This was strange. In Ma's presence, Mummy always sat on the mat or on a lower chair, but today she readily sat down between them. Then, holding her hand, I heard Ma say to Mummy, "Mummy, आज आपको जाना है." "Mummy, you have to go today." Smiling, Mummy replied, "हाँ माँ, आज जाना है." "Yes, Ma, I have to go today." The purport of these words were lost on me as at that moment there was a big flash of light in the room. We all saw it. Another lady in the room was doing puja and she almost screamed that a light had emanated from a small murti of Hanumanji on Ma's puja table. That evening, Mummy's blood pressure began to fluctuate. We propped her on the bed to facilitate easy breathing. Ma was told that Mummy's condition was not good. Around 8 p.m., Ma walked into Mummy's room and taking her hand, she stood in front of her. My brother, my nephew, and I were around her. A few minutes later, looking at Ma with a faint smile on her face, holding her hand in hers, Mummy passed away peacefully. It was the auspicious day of Haryali Sankrant, the wedding day of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. Mr. Keher Singh was a senior government officer drawn to Maharajji when he had held the post of commissioner in Lucknow. A recipient of Maharajji's immense grace, Keher Singh Ji was also blessed with exceptional insight into the divinity of Ma. For the last decade or more of his life, he lived in the ashram. The summer months were spent in Kainchi, and during the winters, Ma would make arrangements for his stay in Vrindavan. About 80 years of age, it was a familiar sight to see him walk around the temples in Kainchi for a glimpse of Ma. He never went inside the darshan room unless called by Ma. If Ma was sitting in darshan with many people, not wishing to disturb her, he would do a pranam at her doorstep and return to his room. This would be enough for him. Since my room was next to his, I would often be called by him to carry his messages to Ma. Sometimes he had offerings for Ma, such as a dhoti or a warm shawl. He would go and buy these himself, and they were always the best khadi or the purest pashmina. One day, Kehar Singh ji called me. Incidentally, he had a strong temper, so it had become a habit for all of us to whisper a small prayer before entering his room. I saw that he looked particularly unhappy. His message to Ma was that he had not seen her for 4 days, and he wanted me to tell her that he felt his time was near. I was told to come back and tell him what Ma said. It was a busy day for Ma. Many people had come that day for her darshan. When she came to take Prasad late afternoon, I conveyed Kehar Singh ji's message and that he had wanted her to hear her reply. Ma almost laughed and said, "ऐसा कह रहे थे? उनसे कह दे, जब मैं भेजूंगी तब जाएंगे। ऐसे नहीं भेजूंगी, बहुत शान से भेजूंगी। जा उन्हें बुला ला." Was he saying this? Tell him he will go only when I send him. And I will not send him like this. I will send him with great dignity and honor. Go, call him. Once he came into Ma's presence, he was his cheerful self again. In the winter months, Ma left for Veerapuram in Chennai. Kehar Singh ji went to Vrindavan. Ma kept getting news that his health was not good, but it was also nothing serious. In early February, Ma and a large group of devotees with her boarded the Tamil Nadu Express for Delhi. It was a journey of 36 hours in the train, so it was a pattern every year to take a break for a day or two in Delhi before proceeding to Vrindavan. Many people were there at the Delhi railway station to receive Ma, each with the hope that Ma would grace their home and stay in their house as she did in the past years. We also looked forward to the break after the long train journey. That year, though, Ma got off the train, met everyone, and told them that she would be proceeding straight to Vrindavan. Many pleaded with Ma, some held her feet and begged that she would at least take lunch prasad before going further. But Ma was determined to leave right away. So the cars were lined up and we all left. Reaching Vrindavan ashram, Ma was told that Kehar Singh ji's condition was critical. After going to Maharaj ji's temple, she went to his room. He was confined to his bed, emaciated but fully conscious. He folded his hands and responded to Ma's presence. Then Ma went to her kuti and we got busy cleaning and unpacking as it had been a long journey. We slept early, but at 10 p.m., Ma woke me up and said she wanted to go and see Kehar Singh ji. I tried to dissuade her as it was cold outside, but Ma was on her way. On reaching the room, I saw he was gasping for breath. On seeing Ma, he asked to be lifted to a sitting posture. Ma sat on a chair by his bedside. Kehar Singh ji folded his hands and bent forward to put his head on Ma's knees. That is where he breathed his last. Next morning, devotees gathered from all over. Ma gave instructions for continuous Ram Nam Kirtan in the ashram. As the bier was brought out, it was heaped with offerings of flowers. Amidst the sound of bells and gongs, and the blowing of conches and the singing of kirtan, Kehar Singh ji was taken for his last journey with great dignity and honor. Govindi Mai was an old Brahmin widow who used to come to Kainchi for Maharajji's darshan, and Maharajji would tell her to go inside to Ma. Completely untouched by the ways of the world, her purity and piety endeared her to both mothers. Being much older in age, Ma and Choti Ma were like daughters to her. She would address them by their names, calling out Jivanti, Siddhi. Ma loved sitting with Govindi Mai and hearing her self-composed bhajans whenever she came. Every time Ma would ask her with a smile on her lips when she had kept her money and gold ornaments before coming. Govindi Mai would come close and secretly whisper into Ma's ear that she had hidden it all in the coal drum. When Ma came to know that Govindi Mai had not been well and had often expressed a desire to see her, she was eager to meet her. I was told that she lived in a place called Damuadung, but no one seemed to know her exact address. Once, while driving from Bareilly, We were about to go past Damua Dhung when Ma mentioned Govindi Mai. I drove inside and parked the car. There was a row of houses and we decided to go from door to door. It did not take us long to find Govindi Mai's house. Her two granddaughters met us and guided us to their house. As Ma entered the living room, we saw that Govindi Mai was lying on a bed. Ma sat down on a chair facing her. She was so overjoyed to see both mothers that she called out to her granddaughters in Pahadi. Siddhi Jivanti aaye rahi. Unali's doodh la. Siddhi Jivanti have come. Bring milk for them. Though Govindi Mai could barely talk, a beautiful conversation followed, and after spending a couple of hours, the mothers left after giving Prasad to her. Soon after, we came to know Govindi Mai was no more. It was though she had been waiting for Ma. Srimati Mini Narayan's arrival in Kenchi did not need to be made known to Ma. As soon as she approached the darshan room, we could hear her call out, Jai Ho, Bhagwati ki Jai Ho, माँ आप ही से सब कुछ है, आप साक्षात जगदम्बा हैं. Praise be to you, praise be to you, glory to the divine goddess. Ma, you are everything. You are Jagdamba herself. No matter how hard Ma tried to deter her, nothing could stop Miniji from proclaiming the divinity of Ma. So strong was her devotion, and such was Ma's grace on her that she rarely left Ma without having her prayers answered and her wishes fulfilled. The strength of her rock-like faith stands unparalleled. In later years, Miniji was diagnosed with cancer and was undergoing treatment at her residence in Ghaziabad. Before every chemotherapy session, her only wish was to hear Ma's voice, something that Ma made possible. During this time, Ma was on her way to Chitrakoot. She was at the house of Miniji's son, Sumant Narayan, in Delhi. A large group of devotees from Nainital and Kenchi had arrived there, and they were to accompany her on this pilgrimage. The train reservations had been confirmed, and all arrangements for the journey had been made. The evening before our departure, the whole group gathered at Sumant's house for Ma's darshan. Ma came, and after sitting for a few minutes, announced that she would not be going to Chitrakoot. Everyone was taken aback. Disappointment was writ large on every face. Then calling Kamlesh Bhandari ji, who was present there, she told him to immediately organize a pilgrimage for everyone to Sri Nathdwara temple in Rajasthan. To me, she said she would be returning to Kenchi the next day. As we drove out of Delhi the next morning, Ma said she would like to go to Miniji's house in Ghaziabad. The moment Ma arrived, the house, which hosts 3 generations of devotees to Maharajji and Ma, was transported into a scene of joyous celebrations. Boxes of sweet for Prasad arrived within minutes. Miniji and Prakash Narayanji worshipped Ma's feet with Ganga water, kumkum, sandalwood paste and flowers. Her lifelong wish being fulfilled, Miniji did arati to Ma amidst the sound of bells and conches. The whole gathering joined her in singing Ma Jagadat Janani Hai. That was the last darshan for Miniji. By 2012, the disease had progressed and she was confined to her bed. Sumant called me one evening, asking me to please pray to Ma for her blessing, as his mother perhaps did not have much time. I conveyed the message to Ma. Ma said, Usko bol Kenchi aa jaye. Tell him to come to Kenchi. I did not know what to say. I repeated to Ma that Miniji's condition was critical, but again, Ma asked me to tell Sumant to come. I gave the message, and Sumant arrived the next morning. Ma was sitting in the sun outside my room. Sumant came there and offered pranam. Ma asked about Miniji, and then she was silent for some time. Soon after, Ma extended both her feet towards Sumant. Taking this as Ma's message, I told Sumant to get Ganga water and wash Ma's feet. He did so and collected the Charnamrit in a jar. Ma then told him to leave as soon as possible. Sumant arrived in Ghaziabad and, wasting no time, he gave the water to Miniji. This Charnamrit was the last thing she had. And then she simply said, Ma. This was her last word.